Namaste, friends. I'm Heather Wiest with Love Serve Inspire, and today I'll be guiding you through a heart of contentment, all levels slow flow. For today's practice, I highly recommend 2 yoga blocks if you have them. If you don't, 2 thick books would work, and also a blanket or a bath or beach towel. I am here to guide you, but you are always your best teacher. So make sure you listen to your body, stay safe, and have fun. We're going to be starting in seated centering today. So I recommend just a regular cross sit, or if you would like to take hero's pose sitting on a block, you may choose to do that as well. So finding a comfortable seat for you. We're just going to go ahead and just ground the hands down wherever they're comfortable. Close the eyes if that's good for you today. We're going to take a nice deep inhale in and let it go through the mouth. Another deep inhale in, long exhale out. Just centering and settling into our space and our practice. And inviting this intention of contentment. Oftentimes we really need to look inward, and especially to our spiritual practices, to find contentment. I'm going to offer a collective intention today. Feel free to adopt your own intention. When instability abounds, I remain stable and steadfast. Spirit-infused confidence fills my heart and soul with peace and contentment. When instability abounds, I remain stable and steadfast. Spirit-infused confidence fills my heart and soul with peace and contentment. We're going to bring one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly. Breathing in and out deeply through the nose. Feeling the rise and the fall of the belly and the chest. On your next inhale, as that belly gently expands, imagine receiving acceptance, love, and contentment. And as you exhale, imagine breathing out through the heart, giving all those qualities away. So inhaling, receiving acceptance, love, contentment. And as you exhale through the heart, giving them all away. Noticing 3 more full rounds of breath. Receiving and giving. Allowing this practice to offer us a little bit more of peace and contentment. When we fill up our cups, we're able to share that with all those important people around us. And we'll go ahead and softly open the eyes, releasing the palms down to the sides. We're going to release our cross sit. We're going to be coming down onto our bellies in a reverse Shavasana. I'm going to encourage you to have a block over towards the left side of your mat. So I'm going to go ahead and come onto hands and knees. I'm going to make my way onto my belly. I'm going to take my right arm in a cactus shape, and I'm going to look towards the right hand. The left arm is just going to be straight down by my left side, palm facing towards the ceiling or the sky. And you're just going to soften here for a few breaths, passively opening up through the neck and the shoulders. Let the body rest. Let your jaw be soft and relaxed, sides of the neck. Staying breath connected here throughout your practice, those full inhalations and exhalations. If you have a Ujjayi pranayama practice, feel free to incorporate that now. That slight audible sound kind of feels like ocean waves coming in and out of shore. One more breath here. We're going to come up onto the fingertips of the right hand. It's like you have a cupcake under that hand. And we're going to roll over onto that left shoulder, but the arm is released behind you. You can feel your arm behind you. I'm going to be resting my head on a block. You have the option of doing that or not. And then I'm going to take my top leg, that right leg behind me in a kickstand shape. From here, if things are going well, you're going to take the right hand and interlace it with the left hand. So again, that left arm is kind of freed from under you. And then as we inhale, we're really going to expand through the chest here. The shoulder blades draw through the chest, you broaden through the collarbones. And then on your next exhalation, I want you to imagine the bottom of your sternum dipping underneath the navel towards the pubic bone. So find the engagement of those ribs drawing in, a little bit of core engagement here. So broadening through the collarbone and the chest, really opening here, a beautiful chest opener. And then again with the exhalation, really solidifying through that torso. Maybe you feel that tailbone lengthening towards that back heel. One more breath here. Then we're going to unwind the hands. We're going to bring that right hand back to the mat. The right leg will come down, and we're going to be taking all of that on the other side. So I'm going to move my block to the right side of my mat. I'm going to take my left arm in cactus. It's going to be right next to me. I'm going to look towards that left hand. I'm going to come down onto the right cheek or ear or temple. And then that right arm is going to come down beside me, palm facing up towards the ceiling. And just softening here. Feel the rise and the fall of the breath. Let the body be heavy. Again, passively opening up through the shoulders and the neck. Inviting in a little more peace and contentment with each breath. One more full breath. We're going to come up onto those left fingertips. It's like you have a cupcake and you don't want to squash the frosting at the top. We're going to go ahead and roll over onto that right shoulder. I'm going to adjust this block to where it's under my head. And then from here, I'm going to take that left leg behind me, kickstand it. And if things are going well, you're going to take that left arm behind you, interlace, shoulder blades draw through the chest. And then as you exhale, bottom of the sternum, dipping underneath the navel towards the pubic bone. Feel that engagement. A few more breaths here, really opening up through that upper chest. Let this feel good for the body. . 2 more deep full breaths. One more breath. We're going to go ahead and unwind. We'll bring that left hand back around to the mat. The left leg will come back. We're going to go ahead and release the block off to the side. We're going to take the hands underneath the shoulders. On your inhale, you're going to lift up the strength of the arms and the core. And we're going to release into a child's pose. Knees as wide as the mat, big toes to touch. And you're come on down into child's pose, extending the arms out for a couple of breaths, and then we're going to be taking the arms above the head. So just getting a nice extension here through the arms, through the spine. And then I'm going to go ahead and ground my elbows into the mat. I'm going to bring the hands above the head, Anjali Mudra. Just sealing in your intention, inviting in peace and contentment, no matter what circumstances are going on in or around you. Connecting to your spirit, connecting to your spiritual practices that help you find true contentment. We're going to go ahead and release the hands back down. We're going to inhale back up, finding our tabletop position on hands and knees. Spreading those fingers wide. We're going to go ahead and have the shoulders right over the wrists, the hips over the knees, feet are relaxed behind you. Coming into our cow and cat shape. So we're going to inhale, bringing the head and the heart forward. And then exhale, drawing the navel to spine and rounding through the upper back. Beautiful. Continuing here with your breath. Inhaling as you gaze up, the belly drops. Exhale, rounding in. Any other additional movement you would like to take here, feel free to do so. You can wag those hips side to side. You can take some big hip circles. One more full round of breath. And then finding our neutral tabletop. I'm going to go ahead and tuck my back toes under, and I'm going to come into a toe squat here. If that's not comfortable for you, you can keep the hips high. We're going to stretch out our wrist a little bit here. So we're going to go ahead and just take our wrist, maybe just shake it out like you're flinging water off. And then we're going to go ahead and flick. Just flick and draw into a little fist and flick, flick, flick. You're also flinging water off of the fingertips. A couple more rounds here, just warming up through the wrist and the forearms. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and flex and point through the wrist. You can just stay like this, or you can go ahead and just give yourself a little bit of extra by alternating, adding a little bit of pressure onto the hands, whatever feels best for you. I'm just going to stay with this motion for a few rounds. And then we're going to take the circular motions with the wrist about 3 times in one direction and then in the other. One more wrist exercise. We're just going to interlace the hands. We're going to take figure 8s with the wrist. So again, just bringing a little bit more mobility into our wrist just through our practice today. One more here. Perfect. All right, so we're going to take the hands back to the mat. You're going to untuck the toes if you have them tucked. We're going to be coming into side plank prep. So I'm going to root through the right hand. I'm going to make sure that shoulder is right over the wrist. I'm going to root through the right knee. And then I'm going to take my left leg out towards the back of my mat. So again, making sure that alignment, that the shoulder is right over the wrist. I have those joints stacked. And then I'm going to take my left arm to the sky. So really strong pose, getting a lengthening through the left side of the body to begin. And then I'm going to give you the option of taking the left arm overhead by the ear. Getting a little extension there, more opening through that left side. And last option to challenge your balance is we're going to lift that left foot a couple inches off the mat. You have a hard flex in the foot. You're lengthening that tailbone towards that back foot. So feel the engagement of the core, challenging your balance here. One more full breath. And we'll bring the foot back down, the arm back to the ceiling or sky, and then back down to the mat. Beautiful. We're going to take that on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and root through the left wrist, the left knee. The right leg will extend out. You're going to seal it down. You're going to make sure that shoulder is over the wrist, and then you'll take that right arm to the sky. Nice extension here, feeling that nice opening through the right side of the body. We'll take that right arm overhead. Maybe you gaze towards the ceiling or sky or wherever it's comfortable for you. Lastly, we're going to challenge that balance by lifting the right foot off the mat. You're lengthening the tailbone towards that heel. Try and expand a little bit more through the collarbone area. 2 more full breaths. Shaking, a little bit of movement is good and natural. Then we'll go ahead and bring the right foot down to the mat. Right arm back to the sky, and then ground it to the mat. Very nice. We're going to take puppy dog pose. So we're going to keep the hips over the knees. The arms are going to extend forward, and you're going to try to aim for your forehead towards the mat or a block or a blanket. So the arms are really engaged here. You're feeling your upper outer arms turn on, and a nice lengthening through the spine, the upper back. Continue to draw the navel to the spine. Protect your low back. You have the option of coming up onto those fingertips again like little cupcakes. We're going to walk the fingertips over towards the right corner of the mat and then soften in a little bit more, opening throughout that left side. And then walking the fingertips to center and then over towards the left side of the mat. And then also ground down here, finding a little more stretch through the right side of the body. Walking fingertips back to center. We're going to inhale back into our tabletop position. We're going to find a block. We're going to take the most narrow side of the block in between the inner thighs. We're going to hug the inner thighs into the block. Just reminds us to activate those muscles. We're going to work some core work here. So we're going to go ahead and root through the hands. You're going to tuck the toes under and you're going to lift the knees 2 inches off of the mat. And this is the pose here. We're working all of the torso, feeling everything turn on in the core. We're going to hold here, or you can try to alternate opposite hand to knee. So you want to try to keep the pelvis neutral here. It's kind of hard. There's a little bit of movement in the pelvis, but trying to keep it neutral. You can alternate hand to knee just to vary up this pose, or you can stay static, really drawing the navel to spine. About 3 more taps if you're doing that, or just holding. Feel free to come to the knees at any time if this is too much. 1 more tap each side. Good work. All right, bringing the knees gently to the mat. So we're going to be using this block for downward facing dog initially. So I'm going to take my hands a couple inches forward, preparing for downward facing dog. Tucking the toes under. As I exhale, the hips are coming up and back. So it feels a little awkward for me having the block between the legs, but it is a great reminder to engage those inner thighs. So I'm pushing my hands down and away into the mat. And as I do that, I'm going to soften my front ribs in, so bring some stability to the torso. Tops of the thighs are pushing back and up, and I'm hugging my inner thighs into the block. Finding a really nice lengthening through the spine in your Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Let the head be relaxed. Let yourself lengthen through the sides of the neck as you broaden through the collarbone area. We're going to be taking dynamic and downward facing dog. So I'm going to bend both of my knees halfway down. I'm hugging into that block. And then I'm going to exhale the hips up and back, tops of the thighs really pressing back. So 2 more rounds like that, opening up through the hamstrings, bending halfway down, pushing into the block. Exhale, the hips come up and back, tops of the thighs press back. 1 more round, inhaling, bending the knees. Exhale, legs up and back. Really pushing again through the hands, especially the index finger and thumb area. All the knuckles, take it out of your wrists. Then we're going to walk our hands back towards our feet for a ragdoll forward fold. Keep the block. Let the head go. Maybe you clasp opposite elbows, swaying side to side or staying static. You can place as much bend in the knees as you need to here. Let everything release. Next option is taking the hands behind the back, interlacing, and then maybe you draw the palms away from the sacrum and draw the shoulders away from the ears. Let you get a little more length through the neck. And then lastly, I'm going to interlace my hands behind the neck. The elbows draping down towards the mat. My nice cool hands behind my warm neck. Just letting everything go, a gentle release for the cervical spine. And then gently releasing, taking the hands to the mat. A generous bend into the knees, hands to the hips on the next inhale with a flat back. We'll come up to standing. Nice job. All right, so we're going to release that block. You're going to keep your blocks towards the top of the mat. We're going to be coming into our half sun salutations. And for today's practice, we're going to be doing a heart opening variation. So I'm going to demo the first time and then we'll do 2 rounds together. So finding your mountain pose. We're going to be rocking a little bit back and forth on the feet, side to side, finding your center, finding a point of focus, straight forward. Shoulders are drawing back, tailbone lengthening down. You feel really strong and powerful like a mountain here. We're going to inhale the arms up and overhead for this variation. And then we're going to exhale, interlace behind the back, bend the knees, and forward fold, arms above the head. Then you'll inhale, sweep the arms up into Ustrasana. And then exhale, fold. Rooting through the feet, we'll take the arms to the sides, up and overhead. Exhale, the hands will draw to heart center and the front ribs will hug in. So please join me, 2 full rounds here. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale, hands behind the back, interlace, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up into Ustrasana, fierce pose, weight into the heels. Exhale, forward fold. Root to the feet, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, drawing the hands down to heart center. 1 more full round. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale, the hands behind the back, bend the knees, forward fold, broadening through those collarbones. Inhale, sweeping the arms up, Ustrasana, weight into the heels, you're squatting down, frontal hip points lift. Exhale, fold. Root to the feet, sweep the arms all the way up, strong arms, strong legs. Exhale, hands to heart. So good. We're going to add on here, adding 3 rounds of sun salutation A with this heart opening flow. First 2 rounds I'll be cueing stepping back. 3rd round I'm going to jump back to chaturanga. So feel free with all of these rounds to add, hop, skip, modify, anything you want to do. So that's how I'll be guiding today. So finding the top of your mat. We'll inhale the arms up and overhead. Exhale, the hands behind the back, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up, Ustrasana, fierce pose. Exhale, fold. We're going to go ahead and take that right leg back, followed by the left. You're in plank pose. We're going to exhale all to the mat for the first round through chaturanga. Releasing the tops of the feet, inhaling low cobra. Kneecaps lift, elbows draw in. Exhale, back down. Tuck the toes. You're going to lift strong through your plank. Tops of the thighs draw you back, downward facing dog. We'll take that left foot up between the hands, followed by the right. Inhaling for your half lift, and exhale, fold. Root to the feet, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart. Collarbones widen, front ribs hug in. Other side. Inhaling up. Exhale, the hands behind the back. Bend the knees a lot. Forward fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Ustrasana. Squat down a little bit more. And exhale, fold. We'll bend the knees. Take the left leg back this time, followed by the right. You're in your plank pose. Exhale through chaturanga. Elbows draw in. Inhaling, low cobra, upward facing dog. If you're in low cobra, you'll be transitioning through your plank, and we'll all meet in downward facing dog. As you're ready, that right foot will come up between the hands, followed by the left. Inhaling, half lift. Exhale, fold. Root through the feet, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart, hug it all in. Last round here, feel free to modify. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale, the hands behind the back, broaden through the chest. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Ustrasana, fierce pose. Heart shines forward. Exhale, fold. I'm going to go ahead and bend my knees. I'm jumping back to chaturanga. Inhaling, low cobra, up dog. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. I'm going to bend into the knees. I'm going to gaze forward. At the end of the exhale, I'm going to step or float to the top of the mat. Inhaling, half lift, and exhale, fold. Root through the feet, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. We'll add on here. Inhaling up. Exhale, the hands behind the back, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up, Ustrasana. Exhale, the hands will ground to the mat. We're going to take that right leg back. We're in our low lunge here. We're going to prepare for Asana, crescent pose slowly. Keeping a nice bend into that front knee. That back leg is super strong. And imagine you have that block between the inner thighs, engaging everything. We're going to lift the hands a couple inches off the mat. Left thigh draws back and in. Then we'll take the arms by the ears. You're really equally rooted between the front and the back foot. Then we'll lift all the way up. Asana, crescent pose. So that back leg really pushing back, and a nice stretch for that hip flexor. Deep bend into the front knee. Maybe you come up more onto the ball of that back foot, and a deeper bend into the front knee. Strong arms. So noticing what's happening with the torso. Try to broaden through the collarbone area, but again, the bottom of the sternum dips under the navel towards the pubic bone. Find stability in the torso. You're welcome to stay here. We're going to be taking a crescent twist by taking the right arm forward, left arm back. So you keep the bend into that nice knee in the front. You're opening up through the chest and shoulders. We're going to reverse our crescent by taking the right arm to the sky. Left hand is reaching back for the right hamstring. If you can, gaze forward or up to challenge your balance. Pushing that back leg back. Feel a beautiful stretch in the front of that right leg. From here, returning to our twisted crescent, we're just going to take the right hand down to the mat for a twisted low lunge. Feel free to bring a block underneath that right hand to give you a little more height. We're drawing the shoulders away from the ears, broadening through the collarbones, and you're welcome to take a twist behind the back. Always an option here. Opening up, drawing that left shoulder head back a little bit more, and then noticing what's happening with the front ribs. Continuing to knit them together, finding that core engagement. We're going to go ahead and release the half bind if you have it. We'll take the left hand to the mat, and we're gently going to bring the right knee to the mat. You're going to find both of your blocks for low lunge lizard. Again, always an option. The blocks have 3 levels, and if you don't need them, feel free not to use them. I'm going to start out off on my hands. I'm being mindful of the front knee. Over time, I really do want to try to keep it over the ankle. I'm bringing that right leg back a little bit more. And then for me, I'm going to come down onto my forearms and really release my head and neck. A few more breaths here. Opening up everywhere, a lot of sensation, so stay connected with the breath. For my last breath, I'm going to come back up onto my hands. I'm going to really find the heart opening here. So I'm broadening through the collarbones. Shoulder blades are drawing through the chest. Feel how good that feels. We're going to release this nice stretch into a half split Ardha Hanuman. I'm bringing my blocks with me on the outside of my hips. A nice flex into my left foot. Micro bend into my left knee. Nice space between my pelvis and thigh, taking a nice deep inhale, leading with that heart. Nice extended spine. You can relax the head and neck if you'd like. And really push the heel into the mat, like you have a mustard seed under there. And then draw that heel energetically towards that left glute. So you feel a little more opening into the hamstring, a little more lengthening through the spine. 2 more deep full breaths. And then from here, I'm going to inhale to a rise. I'm going to ground that left foot down. I'm going to release my blocks over to the side of the mat. We're going to be returning to low lunge, so releasing the right knee off of the mat. I'm going to take plank pose. Feel free to stay on the knees if you need to. We're going to be coming into side plank on the right side. So I'm rooting through the right hand. I'm going to come onto the blade of that right foot. I'm going to have that shoulder over the wrist, left arm to the sky. You're very welcome to come into that side plank variation we did in the beginning of class with that bottom knee down. From here, I'm going to be taking my top leg behind me, coming onto the ball of the foot for Wild Thing pose or Camatkarasana. I'm going to take the left hand to the heart. I'm going to push the heart into the hand, opening up a little bit more. Lift up through the hips. We're going to release the hand back to the sky. We're going to come back to plank pose. From here, we're going to be taking fallen triangle. So the left leg is going to thread through, coming onto the blade of that left foot. Have that shoulder over the wrist, right arm to the sky. Opening up here, fallen triangle. We'll take the right hand back down. Right, our left leg will come into plank. Option to come to the knees. We're going to take our Ardha Vinyasa. Exhale through Chaturanga. Inhale, low cobra, upward facing dog. If you're in low cobra, you'll transition through plank. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. Full deep inhale and complete exhale. We're going to bend into the knees. You're going to gaze forward. At the end of your exhale, you're going to step or float to the top of the mat. Inhaling for your half lift. Exhale, fold. Root through the feet, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. Those front ribs hugging. We'll take that to the other side. Inhaling up. Exhale, the hands behind the back, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Ustrasana, weight more into the heels, squat down. Exhale, fold. We're going to go ahead and take the left foot back this time. We're in that low lunge. We're going to prepare for crescent slowly. You have a nice bend into the front knee. Back leg is strong. You're hugging into midline like you have the block between the leg. We're going to lift the hands a couple inches off the mat. Broaden through the collarbones. Open up through the heart space. Arms by the ears. Strong legs. Right thighs drawing back and in. As you're ready, you're lifting all the way up. Nice space between the pelvis and the thigh. Back leg is pushing back super strong. Settling in here, maybe come up more onto the back of the ball of the foot, and then deepen into the front knee. You're welcome to stay here. We're going to be twisting to the right, so the right arm will come back and the left arm forward. So really finding a nice range of motion here for your twist today. Full deep inhale as you lengthen through both side bodies. Exhale, twist a little bit more. We're going to reverse our crescent. So we're going to go ahead and take the left arm to the sky. Right hand will reach back for that left hamstring. Gaze can be forward, or maybe you take it up to the sky and you push that left leg back a little bit more, opening up through the front of the left leg. Coming back to the twisted crescent, we're going to take the left hand down to the mat for a nice low lunge twist. Now feel free to take a block underneath that left hand if you need a little more height. We're softening the shoulders away from the ears and broadening through the collarbones. Option to take a twist by taking the right hand behind the back, tucking it into the waist, really finding some opening as you draw the shoulder blades through the chest, and then imagine the bottom of the sternum dipping underneath the navel towards the pubic bone. Back leg stays strong. One more full breath. We're going to unwind that right hand. We're going to go ahead and bring it to the mat. We're going to release the left knee to the mat, and we'll find our blocks for low lunge lizard on this side. Again, the blocks have many levels, so adjust to your body. Being mindful of that front knee being over the ankle. Go ahead and come down into your deepest variation, or deeper variation for today. Relaxing especially through the face and the jaw. For my last breath, I'm actually going to come up a little bit more to open up through the heart space, broadening through the collarbones, letting the shoulder blades draw through the chest as my front arms still knit in together. And then we'll release our low lunge lizard, coming into our half split, Urdhva Hanuman. Bringing a flex into the right leg this time, right foot, little micro bend into the right knee. Taking a nice deep inhale, pitching forward, extended spine. Mashing that mustard seed into the ground with the heel, and energetically that heel draws back towards that right glute. So find that stretch in your hamstring, the lengthening through the spine. Navel drawing to the spine, keeping that core engaged, protecting your low back. One more deep full inhale. And exhale. We're going to go ahead and inhale, coming back up. We're going to ground the foot down. We'll take the blocks off to the side. We'll ground the hands down. We're going to release the left knee off of the mat. Coming into our plank pose. You're welcome to come to the knees at any time here. We're going to be taking Vashisthasana, side plank, left side this time, which means we're going to root through the left hand, the blade of the left foot, and the right arm comes to the sky. And just being mindful that left shoulder is over the wrist. You're welcome to stay here. Come into your wild thing, Camatkarasana. The right leg will come back. You're up on that ball of the foot. You're opening back. You're bringing the hand to the heart. You're pressing the heart into the hand. You're lifting the hips. Find your full variation here. Bring the hand back up to the sky. We're going to release the right hand and the right foot back to the mat, plank pose. Finding our fallen triangle. The right foot threads under. You're on the blade of that right foot, rooting through the right hand. It's right under the shoulder. Left arm to the sky. Open to comfort. And then we'll bring the left hand back down. The right foot will ground. Option to come into downward facing dog or work through your Urdhva Vinyasa. Exhaling through Chaturanga. Inhaling low cobra, upward facing dog. If you're in low cobra, you'll transition through plank and we'll all meet in downward facing dog. Full deep inhale and complete exhale. All right, everyone, we're going to come into our plank pose. Feel free to drop to the knees here. On a count of 5, we're going to come all the way to the mat. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. All right, we're going to find our Sphinx pose. Our arms come in front of us like the number 11. Elbows are just right forward of the shoulders. I like to take my feet a little bit wider than hip width distance to help release through the low back. So a lot of the same actions here we've been working. You're drawing the shoulder blades through the chest, broadening through the collarbones. And then imagine the bottom of the sternum dipping under the navel towards the pubic bone. So pressing the pubic bone into the mat really does release a lot through the lower back. Slight engagement of the core here, navel to spine. We're going to take 3 rounds of lion's breath just because it feels good to release the jaw. So we're going to take a nice deep inhale. Stick the tongue out. 2 more lion's breaths. Take a nice deep inhale. I want to be able to hear you. 1 more full breath. Inhaling. Tongue out, let it out. Nice work. All right, so from here, we're going to be coming into half frog to get a nice stretch for our quadriceps. For half frog, I like to take my arm a little bit at a diagonal so I can kind of rest on the forearm. So I'm doing that with the left arm right now. And you can start by bending into the right knee and just see how that feels for your quad and your hamstring today. If things are going well, you can lean more into that left forearm and you can reach back, internally rotating that hand and getting a deeper stretch by bringing the heel towards your glute and then drawing that right thigh and hip towards the mat. So again, Urdhva Dhanurasana, half frog. Nice stretch for the quadricep. If it's not too much, feel free to modify or just keep a gentle bend into the knee and really root through the forearm here. Don't dump into that left shoulder. 1 more full breath. You want to be very mindful not to slingshot here, so be very gentle as you release that leg back down. Finding neutral, we're going to go ahead and place a diagonal with that right forearm. I'm going to bend into my left leg, and I'm going to go ahead and take my hand back. I'm going to reach through internal rotation, and then I'm going to try to reach that heel towards my glute. I'm pushing into the right forearm, not dumping into my right shoulder, broadening especially through that left collarbone area. 1 more deep full breath. Gently going to release that back leg back down. We're going to get a nice little sinus release. I'm going to go ahead and take my hands in fists. I'm going to take my elbows out towards the outside edges of my mat. I'm going to be bringing my head down and I'm either going to massage above the eyebrows or below the eyes. You're going to see where it feels good for you today. Just a nice little self-massage, just releasing tension in those sinuses. So experiment, notice what feels good for your body today. Let the rest of your body be heavy and let it rest for a few breaths. One more full breath here. All right, so we're going to return back to our arms coming forward. We're going to be taking dolphin plank and taking side dolphin plank, both sides, just to work a little bit more core and shoulder strength. So modify as you need to. Feel free to drop to one knee just to give yourself a little bit of break at any time. So I'm going to tuck my toes under and I'm going to lift up into dolphin plank. So my booty stays at a level height. It's not up like into a classic dolphin. This is actually a plank pose. So you want a long line of energy from crown of the head through the heels. I want you to broaden through the collarbone area and then really knit those front ribs in. So tailbone lengthens towards the back heels, full deep breaths. Working core strength, working our endurance, our persistence. Can we stay content with instability all around us? So we're going to come onto the side now. So I'm going to root through the right forearm, come onto the blade of the right foot. And if this feels good on your shoulder, you can take the left arm to the sky. If it doesn't feel good right now, you're just going to come back to that first positioning. Holding here about 3 more full breaths. Then we're going to come back onto that left forearm, root through the left forearm, the blade of the left foot, making sure the shoulder stays over the elbow. Right arm to the sky. Lengthening that tailbone towards the heels. Two more full breaths. Coming back onto the forearms, bringing the knees down. We're going to take a nice child's pose where we take the knees as wide as the mat, big toes to touch, and I'm going to take my arms and tuck them behind my knees. Maybe I can even reach for my fingertips to interlace or to hook onto each other. So let everything go. This is a nice release for the shoulders, for every part of the body. 3 more deep full breaths. As you are ready, we're going to release the arms from underneath us. We're going to go ahead and come into a tabletop, and you're going to find both of your blocks. We're going to do a really yummy shoulder opener. So I'm bringing both of my blocks at the highest level towards the top of my mat. And I have a space about hip, like a head width distance there. You'll figure out what works for you. So I'm going to demonstrate this and then you can come into it. I'm going to be grounding my elbows into the blocks. And I'm going to take my knees back like a puppy dog pose. So my hips are going to stay high. And then I'm going to sink down to where it's comfortable for my shoulders and bring the hands above my head, or you can reach back towards your neck and the shoulder blades. So a really deep opening here. We're just holding for about 3 full breaths. So find your variation that works for your body today. It feels yummy for me. If it doesn't feel yummy for you, you can come out of it and just take a child's pose. Three more full breaths. Navel draws to spine, continuing to engage the core, protecting your low back. Find that broadening through the collarbones, but yet those front ribs hug in. So to come out of this, you're just going to push into the elbows, bring the hands back up and come on up. So good. All right, so we are going to be working into camel pose, Ustrasana. We're going to be taking 3 rounds of camel with some different variations. If you have Camatkarasana in your practice, feel free to work in towards that. So when you come on back onto the forearms and take a real deep variation. I won't be demonstrating that today. I'll be demonstrating different variations of Ustrasana, camel pose. So we're going to start with our blocks just to feel the engagement that we need to have in our legs and our feet for this posture. So I'm going to take the narrow block onto the inner thighs. If you don't have blocks, again, just try to mimic the actions without the blocks. And then I'm going to take that wide block between my ankles and heels. So we're just starting out this way just to feel how the inner thighs are engaged and how the outer ankle and inner ankles are engaging in this posture. We're going to start by taking the hands down the back by the sacrum, and the fingertips are pointing down. So it's like you have your hands in your back pockets. It really allows us to open up through the chest and shoulders. And I want you to imagine that your thighs and hips are up against a wall. It's just a nice way to visualize this posture of keeping the thighs and hips in a very nice neutral position, maybe moving a little bit forward, but not too much. And so we want to find this back bend into the upper back, our thoracic spine. So a lot of opening through the chest and shoulders. And you should be able to talk when you do your camel pose. So we're just going to take a gentle variation. So you're hugging into your blocks. You're broadening through the collarbones, taking a deep inhale, and then you're going to go ahead and draw back. maybe the gaze comes to the ceiling or the sky. Again, the thighs and hips, imagine them up against a wall. Maybe your elbows draw closer in together. Lengthen the tailbone down, so you should feel it more into the shoulders and the upper back. Then we'll inhale back up. So you're welcome to stay with that variation if you'd like. I'm going to take it a little bit deeper. Classically, we take the hands back and reach towards the heels. For a lot of people, that's not accessible. So I'm going to demonstrate. You can either tuck your toes under to bring the heels higher, or you can release the blocks and take the blocks on the sides of the feet so you can bring your hands onto the blocks. So you can feel free to try that variation. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start with my hands behind the back. I'm going to imagine that wall for my thighs and hips, and I'm hugging into everything. I'm going to take a nice deep inhale. And I'm going to lean back. And then as I find the opening into the upper back and I'm feeling good in that lower back, I'm going to reach back for a heel and then the other heel. And then I can really work the opening of the thoracic spine. Shoulder blades draw through the chest. And then imagining the bottom of the sternum dipping under, just finding a little more stability in the torso. One more full breath. And then we'll inhale back up. There's a lot of opening in camel pose. You'll feel a lot of sensation in the front of the chest. You may feel a little lightheaded or dizzy, and that's completely normal. So feel free always to take a child's pose at any time. So we're going to do one more full round here. And I'm going to go ahead and release the blocks for this round. Again, remember you can bring the blocks to the sides of the feet if you'd like to have them there to help you gain that pose. I'm going to keep my toes flat this time. I'm going to reach back for my heels, and for my variation, I'm going to go ahead and take one arm back and then the other. Just a nice little variation for Ustrasana. Again, if you have Camatkarasana in your practice, feel free to take that now. So again, finding that solid wall for the front of the hips and thighs. I'm going to start with my hands behind the back. I'm going to take a nice deep inhale. I'm going to lean back, find the opening into the chest, lengthening through the tailbone. I'm going to reach back for my heels, finding a deeper opening. And I'm going to alternate one arm back, just a pretty fun expression. I'm going to exhale that hand down. And I'll take the other side. Having fun and playing helps to have contentment and peace. One more breath wherever you're at. And then lifting all the way up. Bringing both hands to the heart. I'm going to keep my eyes open. Just feeling that deep opening. When instability abounds, I remain stable and steadfast. Spirit-infused confidence fills my heart and soul with peace and contentment. Inviting in your intention. And we're going to release the palms down. We're going to take another variation of child's pose that's super yummy for the shoulders. So I'm going to be taking my blocks at the mid-level. You may need the high level. I'm going to see what works for my body here. I'm going to take embryo pose. So the knees are going to be together for this variation of child's. My shoulders are going to rest on the blocks. I'm going to come on down. I'm going to see what level of block I need. This is good for me. My shoulders are going to come onto the blocks, and I'm going to let my head fully rest on the mat. Going to adjust the blocks as you need, and then let everything go. 5 full breaths. Soften a little bit more the jaw, cheekbones, forehead, shoulders. One more breath. And we'll go ahead and release, coming on up. We'll take the blocks off to the side. We're going to come down onto our bottoms. We're going to take Janu Shirsasana. I'm going to take the right leg out in front of me. The left leg is going to come, or left foot's going to come into the inner thigh of the right leg. If your left leg is really high, feel free to prop it up with a blanket or a block to find a little more comfort in the pose. I'm going to be upright on the sit bones. I have a flex into the right foot. I'm going to inhale the arms up. I'm going to angle over that right leg, and I'm going to extend all the way over. Find where you can grab. Can always bend into that knee. And then take a nice deep inhale, and then let yourself come on down. 5 full breaths. I feel a nice opening in my QL muscles in the lower back, a little bit into my hamstring. Keep that flex into the right foot. One more full inhale. And exhale. We're going to inhale back up. We're going to take a heart opening variation in our Janu Ustrasana. Left hand's going to come behind you, fingertips facing away from you. And then you're going to ground the right foot down, and then you're going to bring the right arm to the sky. So again, just a nice little variation of Wild Thing, Camatkarasana. Feel it opening into the front of the body. And then we're going to exhale, coming back down, and we're going to switch sides. We'll take that left leg out. The right foot's going to come into the inner thigh. You're going to be really upright, flex into the left foot. Again, if you need support underneath that right knee, feel free to grab it. We'll inhale the arms up, and then we exhale, extending the spine, keeping space between the pelvis and the thigh, leading with the heart, opening up, and then settling in on your next exhalation. 5 full breaths. Take the breath all the way into that lower back body, really opening up and stretching. As you're ready, we'll go ahead and inhale back up. We're going to take the right hand behind us this time, fingertips away from you. We're going to seal the left foot down, opening up left arm to the sky. You can take it as much as a back bend as you'd like here, opening up through that heart space. One more full breath. And then we'll exhale back down. All right, so we're going to take a nice opening here through our hips a little bit, through a wide-legged forward fold. So feel free to turn sideways on your mat if the heels or ankles need that support. So we're going to start by just coming forward onto the mat. Again, you can use any propping that you need, and you don't have to go very deep into this pose. We are going to keep it active. So a nice flex into the feet, little micro bend into the knee if you need to. If you feel any sensation on the inner outer knee, just ease up a little bit. We don't want to feel that. So you're going to go ahead and just come on down into your variation of wide-legged forward fold, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Opening up through the inner thighs, outer hips. Nice flex into the feet. Relax through the jaw, the face, the neck. One more breath here. And if you're forward folded, you're going to just use the hands to come on back. We're going to take a revolved variation of this, Paravita. So I'm going to go ahead and I will mirror you in my cueing here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my right arm down into the inner right thigh. And then I'm going to take my left hand behind my head. And maybe this is where you are today, just finding a really deep twist. If you can, you're going to extend that left arm out and maybe reach for those right toes. So you really want to look underneath you, underneath that armpit. It's so much opening into that left side. You're grounding that left sit bone down. 2 more deep full breaths. And then as you inhale, you'll go ahead and arise back up to center and pause for a breath. There's a lot of opening in this posture. All right, so we'll take that to the other side. So the left arm will come onto the inside of the left inner thigh. You're going to take the right hand behind the head. That's a lot of opening already through that right side. If things are going well, you can extend that right arm up and over, reaching for those left toes. So again, you're trying to really take that twist underneath the armpit. Full deep breaths. Grounding that left sit bone into the mat as best you can. Three more deep full breaths. I'm going to go ahead and inhale all the way back up and pause for breath. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw my legs together. We're going to come into Paschimottanasana. So I'm rooting through the sit bones here, really up onto the sit bones. Flex into both feet. You can bend the knees as much as you need to. Highly recommended if you're tight in your hamstrings. We're going to go ahead and inhale the arms up. As you exhale, lead with that heart. Extended spine, space between the pelvis and the thighs. Find a place to catch your hands, and then we'll take 5 full breaths. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale, fold in. Again, bending the knees is encouraged if you need to. Lengthen the crown of the head forward. Get that length through the back of the neck. Still broad through the collarbone, shoulder blades draw through the chest. One more deep full breath. We're going to inhale back up. So we're going to be preparing to come down onto our backs. We're going to be doing 4 rounds of bridge pose and having the option of 2 of those rounds being Urdhva Dhanurasana, or some people like to say Chakrasana for wheel pose. So upward facing bow or wheel pose. We'll be working into that today. So lots of options. You do not have to do that. You can just stay with your bridge pose as I guide you through each round. I'm going to challenge those who do have a strong upward facing bow practice to take some push-ups with your Urdhva Dhanurasanas, just bending through the elbows, touching the head to the mat and coming back up. So that would be the challenge pose for this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a block for the first couple of rounds for our bridge in between the inner thighs. We're going to come all the way back. We're going to bring the block, I like the narrow one, in between the inner thighs. And we're going to start with robot arms for our first variation of bridge pose. Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. It's a long word. So you want your feet really rooted into the mat. You want it at a comfortable position for your knees. So notice what that is for you. And we're lengthening the tailbone down towards the heels before we begin. You're rooting the triceps into the mat, fingertips facing towards the sky. As we inhale, we're going to lift up the hips and pelvis. You're engaging into that block, activating the inner thighs, and then finding a nice bridge pose for you. You want to keep the gaze to the ceiling or sky, protecting your neck. So find just a nice gentle variation for this first round. Drawing the shoulder blades through the chest. And then we'll exhale vertebra by vertebra, coming all the way back down. For our second round, we will keep the block and we're going to take the hands behind the back, interlacing for a deeper variation. So we're going to go ahead and inhale, lift up the hips and pelvis. I'm going to take my hands underneath the back, interlace, come up a little bit more onto the shoulder heads, lift up the hips. You're hugging into the block. Now I want you to feel the outside edges of your feet. Energetically, can you push them towards the outer edges of your mat? And notice how it helps you engage into that block. Lengthening the tailbone towards the heels. Find the opening into the upper back. Find the bridge in between the shoulder blades. Space between chin and chest. Maybe you can sense the top of the sternum reaching a little bit more to the chin. And then as you're ready, vertebra by vertebra, coming all the way back down. All right, if you're staying with bridge pose, feel free to keep that block to keep the integrity of the pose. If you're working into Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow, then we're going to release the block. It just adds a little bit more freedom for the placement of the legs and the knees for each body type. So when I come into upward facing bow, I like to come into bridge first. It just helps me activate all the actions I've been working already. So as you're ready, we're going to inhale, lift up into bridge pose. Find your bridge. If you're taking upward facing bow, the hands will come back by the ears. You're going to ground through the hands. You're going to lift up onto the head and then lift all the way. Nice straight arms. Now you want to have that drawing in of the inner thighs. So imagine you're hugging into that block. You're opening up through the collarbone area. Strong straight arms. Energetically, the outer edges of the feet drawing towards the outer edges of the mat. Try to hold a few more breaths, challenging your posture. As you're ready, very slowly, slow and controlled, coming back down to the top of the head and then back all the way down. Nice job. If you're in the bridge pose, feel free to, I'm sure you've already come down by now. For upward facing bow, sometimes I like to lengthen my legs out long, just for a moment, just to get a little bit of rest for the spine. Feel the effects of the pose. Big, big heart opener. So we're going to do one more round. Your choice, another bridge or another upward facing bow. Urdhva Dhanurasana, or some people like to call it Chakrasana for wheel pose. I'm going to challenge you, if you have a strong practice again, to take a few of those push-ups just to get a different variation of the pose. So we're going to bend into the knees, finding bridge to begin. You're taking the upward facing posture. The hands will come back towards the ears. You're going to push into the hands, lift on up. Find your full variation. Try not to have the legs splay out too much. You want to hug into the inner thighs. And working into those push-ups if you want. Head comes down towards the mat. Strengthening shoulders, triceps. One more. Good job, everybody. Nice job. One more full breath at the top. Gently come all the way down. Everybody, full body stretch. Let it feel good. We're going to be coming into a supported bridge pose. I'm going to give the option of supported shoulder stand with the block mid-range under the low back to come in with the legs to the sky. So just like a modified legs up the wall or shoulder stand. We'll start with the first variation of supported bridge. So place a bend into the knees. I'm going to lift up the hips and pelvis and bring the flat block underneath the lower back. So you're welcome to stay right here. It feels so good just to let your lower back rest into the block. You also have that nice psoas opening variation where you can lengthen a leg forward if you like, or alternate, or both at the same time. So that is an option. Today I'm going to be demonstrating modified shoulder stand. So I'm going to take the block up a level, rest right at the low back. I'm going to hold on to the block for a moment, or sometimes it feels good just to interlace the hands around the block. Take my legs to the sky. So my block is resting at a really sweet spot in my low back. It feels nice. I'm getting that gentle inversion. Safe for my neck if shoulder stand is not in your practice due to neck issues. Those full deep breaths. Coming now into our 1 to 2 exhalation breath, really lengthening out through the exhale. So noticing your natural inhalation and doubling out the exhalation. Really prepares our body for Shavasana as we transition from our sympathetic nervous system to our parasympathetic nervous system. Wherever you are at, about 3 more full breaths. If something feels really yummy and you want to linger in it longer, feel free to. One more full breath. If you have your legs to the sky, you're very gently going to place a bend into the knees, bringing the feet down to the mat, and then you'll release your block to the flattest level, resting there for a breath or two. Being mindful of our low back and being gentle with it. And then I'm going to lift up the hips and pelvis, releasing the block, bringing it off to the side. We're going to be taking a supine twist. So the arms are going to come out into a T. Feel free to take any variation that feels good for you. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to twist to the right to begin, but I like to shift my hips a little to the left to find the center line down my mat. So I'm going to hug my knees into the chest and then twist over towards the right. I'm going to take my hand to the outside of that left thigh to give myself a little adjustment. Feel free to use a block or a blanket in between the knees if you need to. If it's good for your neck, you can gaze over that left shoulder for a deeper variation or just continue to gaze to the sky. And then I want you to imagine the bottom of that left shoulder blade reaching towards that left elbow. Find a little more twist in that thoracic spine. 3 more full breaths here. And then we'll gently come to center, pausing there for a breath. Then we're going to take our twist to the other side. So we'll be twisting to the left. So I'm going to shift my hips a little to the right, hug the knees in, and then come all the way to the left. I'm going to take my left hand to the outside with the right thigh, give myself a little deeper adjustment. And I'm going to gaze over that right shoulder. For me, my shoulders don't ground into the mat, and that's okay because we're not holding for a long time. If I were to hold for a long time, I'd place a blanket underneath that right shoulder. So again, imagining the bottom of the right shoulder blade this time, reaching towards that right elbow to find a little more twist in that upper back. Softening through the face and the jaw. 3 more full breaths. And then we'll gently come back to center. You feel free to take a full body stretch here. You can take a happy baby. We're just closing out our practice. For Shavasana today, I'm going to be setting up for a soft fish pose with the blocks and a blanket. Feel free to take a classic Shavasana shape, just lying on your back or side if that doesn't feel right for you today. So in Happy Baby, I like to just have that gentle rock on the lower back, reaching for the outside edges of the feet. The knees draw into the armpits or the sides of the ribs. And then hugging the knees into the chest. I'm going to bring my forehead up towards the knees, giving myself a big hug. Maybe I clasp opposite elbows around my shins. And then I'm going to go ahead and rock all the way up. Feel free to transition onto your side. So I'm going to set up for soft fish using the blocks. So for this, You may have to experiment with the different heights of the blocks for your body. I like to have the mid-height block for my head, and I like to have this flat block for where my shoulder blades rest on there. So like the bottom of your bra line, ladies, would be right at the edge of this part of the block. And then I'm going to be taking my blanket or towel and just rolling it up to have underneath my knees for a little bit of extra support. So I'm going to come on back. I'm going to reach for that block, find that nice spot on my shoulder blades, and then I'm going to adjust this to where it fits under my head. Might take you a little bit to find that for your body. There we go. Once you have that, you're going to feel a beautiful opening into the chest here, just settling into Shavasana. Again, if this isn't right for your body today, just take a classic lying on the back with support under the knees or a blanket over the torso. So I'm relaxing the chest and the shoulders, face. Now I want you to imagine the most beautiful mountain you've ever seen. Maybe you can visual it clearly, or it's just a felt sense. And imagine yourself as that mountain. Your head is the peak of the mountain. The arms and hands are the slopes of the mountain. And your feet, the solid base. And no matter what, the mountain is a strong entity. Through all the weather and the seasons of the mountain, it still says itself. It's strong, essential, peaceful self. So no matter the weather that you're going through right now, the seasons of life, can you find that stability, that steadfastness, allowing spirit-infused confidence to fill your heart and soul with peace and contentment. Shavasana. You are so welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. If you're ready to transition, just noticing the breath. allowing your breath of life to flow freely through your body, each breath a purpose. Bringing some gentle movement to fingers and toes. Maybe you rock the head gently side to side. And we're going to be super mindful coming out of the soft fish variation. So you want to place a bend into the knees, grounding them into the blanket or the mat. And we're going to transition into a fetal position on either side, being really mindful there's been a lot of opening through this pose. So go ahead and come off the blocks gently, transitioning into a fetal position. And just noticing here the effects of the practice, the opening created, and the mind calm, and the spirit at peace. Knowing you can come here at any time just by connecting with the breath and especially lengthening out the exhale. Taking all the goodness from your practice today into the rest of your day. Staying calm, centered, peaceful, and content no matter what comes your way. We're going to use the strength of the arms to make our way into a comfortable seat. Once you find that comfortable seat, we're going to allow the hands to just draw at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Just reflecting for a few breaths, allowing yourself to receive any soul messages from your practice today. It's always a true honor and a pleasure to guide you through your practice. Thank you for sharing your beautiful presence with me. From the light within me, I honor and respect the light within you. Walk in grace and peace and shine bright, my friends. Much love and namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can stay connected on my website, loveserveinspire.com.